I think our next guest is going to see this post that I'm showing. It says, show up, especially when it's the last thing you want to do. And that's a quote that I took from our special guest from his Facebook profile.
I stole it from someone else, but
but no,
thank you.
I stole it from you, and I saw that, and I go, I'm stealing that from the person I'm going to introduce to. So I want to introduce a good buddy of mine, Josh Schoenly. I tell you what, we've been in the coaching trenches for some time. We're in this, just delighted to be working side by side in many cases. So let's just dive right into it, Josh. Let's tell the audience, who's Josh Schoenly?
Wow, what a great question. 60 seconds, which, by the way, Richie, that was great. The end. It had me cracking up at the end of the morning.
Just making sure everyone knew.
Yeah, I love it. I've been in the industry since the mid-2000s. I got licensed in 2007, was rookie of the year in my little brokerage. My first year sold #1 in units, my second year. But what I realized pretty quickly, what I was most passionate about was the marketing side, client acquisition, really funnels before funnels was a thing. Like, we didn't talk about funnels back in 2008, 9, 10, but that's really what I was doing and what got me excited. So I moved out of production and more into coaching and training and info products and tech and so forth, and did that for most of the 2010s, and just got to a point where I was itching to get back into production. And that itch, combined with the best business model that exists, not in real estate, period, EXP, that I went back into production. And a lot has happened since basically the end of 2019, 2020, since I went back into production. But, you know, I get to come on stuff like this, work with folks like Robert. I don't know if Tim can call him Bobby. I don't know if I'm allowed to call him Bobby, but that was great. So I get to do fun stuff like this. What most excites me is I get to share what's working for me. So I do a mastermind every Wednesday as well, a little earlier in the day. And all I do is share like what I'm testing, what I'm doing, who I'm learning from, what's working for me. And so today's topic is not something that is theory-based in any way, shape, or form. In fact, I have 4 appointments tomorrow. 3 of them are with these very leads. I had 3 appointments yesterday. 2 of them were with these very leads. And as much as I would like to have 3 or 4 appointments a day, it's not every day that happens, but I'm getting more and more traction since I've started to work these leads in the springtime. Now, I've worked them in the past, and one of the reasons I came back to them is the realization, like, that stuff was working. Why did I ever stop doing it? And there's usually never a good answer. Oh, I got bored. I got distracted. I got whatever. So what I thought I would do is I'm going to share a couple of things. I'm going to share why I think this is a good lead source and a lead source you might consider. I'm going to share some slides that very transparently I had Manus AI put together for me as to real data, other than the fact that, like, it's working for me. And then I will share where I'm getting them from and how I'm converting them from, a lead that I'm paying for into an actual appointment and listing. And just for context, since I've started paying for these leads in, I think it was mid-April, I have taken and sold. I've taken 2 that I've listed and sold. I have 2 more that are listed. And at just this week already, I have 3 more in the pipeline where it's just a matter of the ones relocating to be closer to family. She's older and she wants to be closer to her daughter. So it's just like some timing stuff. But I just, almost every day, it's reinforcing that these are great people to be building your business around. So before I share my screen, Robert, I'm going to pick your brain for a minute.
Yeah.
Why do you like FSBOs, expireds, and pre-foreclosures as a target audience to take listings?
First, I like FSBOs because they have their hands up. They're telling everyone they want to sell their home. So why not go to somebody that tells me they want to sell their home before I go to somebody that maybe wants to sell their home? Number one. Yep. Number 2, expireds. I love expireds because they've been on the market for 6 months oftentimes. But the reason why they didn't sell, Josh, is because the price was too high. So they shown the motivation. They just weren't given the opportunity to do it correctly. That's why I love expireds. And the final is pre-foreclosures. I like them because you know what? It makes me feel good. If I can help somebody keep their home, awesome. Many times they can't. And who are they going to come to after we've already done that work, trying to help them keep their home? They're going to come to me. That's why I like those 3 sellers.
Don't disagree at all. I have a listing that is a pre-foreclosure. I closed and expired last week, and I have 2 FISBOs in the pipeline. So I could not agree more. Now, the other side. What, if you had to say, what is the number one flaw or drawback when it comes to those lead sources?
Getting the sellers to come to reality land is always important, especially with the FISBOs and the expireds for that matter, because the expireds, the reason why they're expired is because they dug their heels in on a price. So I would say price is the first thing we talk about. And that's what we do in our Zoom listings is the first 3 to 5 minutes, we talk about price. And if we don't agree in the realm of reality, the conversation ends.
What about competition?
That doesn't bother me.
Okay. This doesn't bother you. You're a seasoned professional. Where I was hoping you might go, which you didn't, which is totally fine because we didn't script this at all, is those same reasons that make them a great lead source can also make it difficult if you don't have something very unique and you're not incredibly consistent and persistent and you don't have the time block. Now, you should be doing that stuff anyway, but my point is, where I was trying to go with that is a lot of the same reasons that make these great leads, that I'm not competing against every other person in my market who's getting the same expired list every morning or at the end of every month. I'm not competing against every other agent who, and we've got a lot of desperate, hungry agents who are reaching out to FISBOs the minute they hit. And once again, I'm not against that at all. Like I said, I'm working those audiences as well. I've just found that this, for me, is another great pillar that has just been a wonderful way to get more listings and do so with, at least in most cases, less competition, more of a blue ocean, let's say, than a red ocean when it comes to some of those other audiences. Again, I'm not suggesting you should stop prospecting those. That's not the point. The point is, if you're having success and you want more opportunities, this is probably a good place for you to at least explore. Okay. Now, this is the presentation that I very transparently had Manus, which is my favorite AI platform right now, help me build out 6 compelling reasons to invest into motivated seller leads here in 2025. You can unlock higher conversions, faster closings, and overcome some of the challenges of today's market. I'm going to go very quickly through this, or at least I'm going to try to. Here we go. I think we can agree there's some turmoil in the market. It seems like we're going to have fewer units sold this year than last year, and last year was like a 30-year low, right? And yet transactions are still happening and things are still happening. But regardless, there are some things not working in our favor, right? We don't have a tailwind behind us, right? We don't have super low rates. We don't have the things that were the perfect storm in 2021, 22, 23. Here's for me what I'm finding to be some of the most compelling reasons why I'm working these leads, I'm paying for these leads, and I'm having success with these leads. Generally speaking, the conversion rate on them is a lot higher than traditional prospecting. And these numbers, I don't know where it got them from, but I can tell you that they're not that far off, especially the 10 to 15% conversion rate. That's what I'm getting right now. I'm actually closer to 20% conversion to listing, but it's also, I'm only 3 months in, and this is a long sales cycle game, and that number is just going to climb over time because I'm going to follow up with them until they list or whatever. Buy or die, I don't know what, list or desist. I'm trying to come up with a rhyme for that, but point is that number will climb over time, okay? And it certainly beats the traditional cold calling. Now, if you're reaching out to FISBOs and expireds and pre-foreclosures who need your help, and at least 2 out of 3 of those are publicly announcing, I'm selling, you're going to have a little bit better than traditional cold calling. But regardless, here's a big one. I have had several of these leads that I have listed in a matter of days. Days, meaning first contact, we got them on the market. So the conversion cycle of that is not just higher conversions, it's the time frame of the conversions in many cases is a lot faster. I'll juxtapose that against a listing that we just went pending on 2 weeks ago. We got absolutely crushed on the appraisal. This is completely unrelated, but like absolutely crushed on the appraisal. But I was able to keep it together, and we're going to settle August 12th. Those folks I had been working, they had been in my database since 2022. I had been working with them, meaning had met them in person in January. Like we didn't get them on the market until July. Some of these I've had like the first one that I sold of these leads since I started investing in them again. And I want to reiterate, I've done this in the past, but I've just had the realization, like, why am I not doing this now? And started again this spring in April. But the very first one that I listed and sold, like from the time they were a lead to the time we were on the market was the same week. He came in on a Tuesday. We were live on the market on Friday. We were under contract early the next week, right? So it can happen fast. It's not a guarantee that will happen for you, the first lead that comes in, but it can happen, okay? And obviously, the faster closings you have, the faster you can turn and cycle through for more opportunities. You know what? Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get with Robert. I'm going to get him these slides. I don't like slide presentations. I just like to get into the nuts and bolts. We can go through this, but I think everybody would agree. Let's just get into the good stuff. Where am I getting them? And then how am I getting into conversation and converting them? Okay. So here are the places that I'm currently buying leads from. And what I'm going to take a side. This is working so well for me. I've actually hired an agency to be generating them for myself completely exclusively. And I'm using these sources and I'll continue to use them because they're working, right? Like when something's working, don't turn it off. I'm talking to myself because I still don't listen to myself all the time, like constantly. I have to why did I stop doing that? That was working. Anyway, these are the 4 that I am currently getting leads from right now. And I'll share this document. I'll drop it in the chat for those who are here live. But I want to break down some important information and considerations with these lead sources and then get into the fun part. Like, what do we do with these to turn them into listings? Okay. So number 1 is motivatedsellers.com. When I started buying these leads, working with these lead providers in April, this was the first one that I went back to. And I would have to log into my account, which I'm not going to do here because it'll have sensitive information and it could mean that YouTube blocks it and whatever else. But I think the third lead, maybe the second lead, was a listing. Again, no guarantees, no promises, but it's very possible. Okay. You can't say that about most lead sources, or at least most cold paid lead sources. Okay. The links in here, very transparently, the links in here are affiliate links. And some of them give me credits if you sign up. Some of them, I don't know, there's some kind of referral payout policy. But I want to reiterate, I wouldn't recommend these if I wasn't using them and they weren't working for me. And you can certainly go right to the source because I'm giving you who these are coming from. So here's what I like about motivatedsellers.com. They're exclusive. So if you get the lead, they're not selling them to 5 other people. Now, that does not mean that same person hasn't gone to multiple places and requested a cash offer, right? But it just means that they're not selling them to multiple people, okay? You bid by county, and it will vary greatly by county. So if you're in a county where the average home price is very high or there's a lot of competition from real estate investors or real estate agents, you're going to have a higher bid than if you're not. Now, a little hack for this is a really cool hack. In that scenario, you can pause your account until late in the month. And if there is a lot of competition, a lot of your competition will have run out of budget for the month. And you can swoop up some cheap leads by just coming in, setting a low budget for the last 8, 9, 10 days of the month. And, you know, that if the number is really high or you're on a limited budget, that's a little hack. It requires a little bit more like management and maintenance, but it could be worth it for you. All of these have a refund policy. So that's another big benefit or something that I like a lot about these programs. Motivated Sellers has a very simple policy, and it's very easy to dispute the lead and get a credit back for leads that are listed or they're mobile homes or the contact information is no good or they completely refute the fact that they're not at all interested in selling. There's a whole bunch of reasons that qualify for a refund. Now, you have to be on top of these leads so that you can make sure that you request within the refund window. But if you're paying for these leads, I would hope that you'd be on top of them and you'd be reaching out and doing everything you can to get a conversation and then an in-person appointment, okay? So that's number 1, motivatedsellers.com. It's great. I have nothing but good things to say about that. By the way, all of these, it's very easy to integrate with whatever you're using CRM-wise. If you're using Bold Trail, it's easy. That's what I'm using. That all the leads go right into there. All of them, a smart campaign fires off, and I automatically send a direct mail campaign to them, okay? If you're using something else, generally speaking, it's very easy. They have API keys, they have Zapier set up. Like, it's very easy to get these leads where you need them to go. Number 2, fasthomeofferleads.com. Also exclusive. Same thing. Bidding varies by county. There is a refund policy. I would reach out to Mike, and if you have questions and so forth. For me, the lead flow from Fast Home Offer leads has been like, the number of leads I've gotten has been lower, but the quality has been incredible. I've literally talked to every one of them. Like, they're legit. ZBuyer, okay? ZBuyer seller leads. This is a volume play. These leads, of the 4 on this list, these are the lowest quality, but they're also by far the cheapest. So for me, it's this, I'm diversifying my portfolio is how I look at it. And I've gotten some good ones in there, but I get a lot that are like, oh, I didn't really want an offer. I hit a button or whatever. They're just, the motivation is not at the same level of the other 3 that I have on here. But once again, the cost is lower. They still have their refund policy is a lead replacement. So if you get a bad lead, they'll replace it. And the bidding varies by county, just like all of these. But I think ZBuyer, I don't know, my cost per lead with ZBuyer is a fraction of the other ones. Okay. And also, it just means that I got to work through more of them to find the good ones. And I'm happy to do that. In fact, I'm really close. I'm really close on one that's going to be a really good one that came from ZBuyer. It's going to be a rough one that I'm going to make money on the initial sale, and I'm confident I'm going to get the listing on the back end once we fix it up and resell it. It's going to be a nice multiple commission check transaction. The last one, Compass Data Source, is when you go to their website, you'd think, is this real? This seems a little shady. I don't know what's going on here. But it is. He's legit. It's just that, in fact, here's what it is. He's so good that he doesn't really care about what his like public-facing marketing looks like, because he mostly gets business by referral. So like, his website is not great looking, but the leads are good. I'm working several from Compass right now. And in fact, actually, I'm sorry, I co-listed one with a local partner of mine last week that came from Compass. And they also have a return policy. The note here is, again, that I may get credits or affiliate payments if you use any of those links. I think this would be fun. I've got a little case study here that it was a fun text conversation, so I want to share it. And I hope it encourages you that no doesn't always mean no. Now, in this case, okay, specifically, sometimes you got to open up, you got to peel back the onion a little bit. You got to get creative. So this is a lead, and I have to do it this way. Yeah. It's in reverse order because that's just the way Bold Trail does it. You got to scroll down to the bottom and scroll up, basically. So this is a lead that came in. It was actually a Sunday morning, and I was just chilling. And it actually, the lead came in Saturday night, but smart campaigns don't fire. Like, my smart campaigns fire at 9 a.m. Eastern. So if they come in overnight. This fires at 9:01. Hey, so-and-so, it's Josh, reaching out because we saw you requested an offer online for your property at street address. Is that correct? Which, by the way, that's a great opening text, email, voicemail if you get them on the line. And so when I call them, if they don't answer, my voicemail script is, hey, Bobby, it's Josh. Just got a request for cash offer options for your property at blank address. Is that correct? Also, I have a question or two for you. When you have a minute, please give me a buzz or shoot me a text. Bang. That's it. If they answer, hey, Bobby, it's Josh. Yeah. It looks like you requested a cash offer for your property at 624 Delville. Is that right? And then just let them talk. And some of them will tell you life story without you asking any other questions. And some of them, you got to dig a little bit. Anyway, I sent that. He says, yes. It says Vera, but I've been in the house. It's he. So I don't know. I'm not judging. Got it. Do you have time for a quick chat, or would you prefer text? Normally, I would just ask, do you have time for a quick chat? But it was Sunday morning. I didn't actually want to talk to him on the phone. So I put in, would you prefer text? Hoping that they said, yeah, I prefer text, because I didn't want to sneak off and be judged by my wife for having a conversation with a seller at 9:24 on a Sunday morning. That's the God's honest truth. Okay. So prefer text, please. Got it. No problem. Can you confirm how many beds and bath? I see some conflicting info online, which I did. I looked it up in 2 different places, and one said 3. One said 5. It was just confusing. And so he said 5, 2 got you just under 5 acres. Yes. And so I use iList and I popped it in there, got some preliminary offers and shot them over. So I said, got it. The initial offers are ranging from blank to blank, but I think we can get more for you. Because I did. Now, I did before I saw the house. Whew, I left with fleas. I'll just leave it at that. Anyway, I think we can get more for you. We just need to pop by for a quick tour to get the very best numbers for you. I'll be in the area Tuesday afternoon. Any chance that would work? Should only take 10 to 15 minutes. By the way, if you're not doing this, if you only got this from today's call, like anytime you have an appointment of any kind, use that as an excuse to reach out to homeowners nearby that appointment to try and get more of them. It could be coffee with your buddy at the Starbucks. That's an appointment. Hey, I'll be in the neighborhood. Is there any chance I could pop by for a quick tour? I've got a private client that'd be ready, willing, and able to make an offer. Find every way possible to turn one appointment into 3, 4, or 5 anytime around any type of appointment. If it's a preview of a FSBO, if it's an actual listing appointment, if it's you're taking a buyer to check out a property, try and be efficient with and leverage your time. Anyway, he said, no, thank you. So I'm like, okay, what do I do now? I could just be like, okay, have a good day. But I said, and notice it took me a couple minutes because I was like, what should I do here? How do I keep this going? Do you have a number in mind you're looking for? Or is it that you're just curious at this point? Closer to 320 is what I'm looking for. Yep, that makes sense. I think that's definitely doable with what we call our 7-day stress-free sales system. Would it be okay if I email you more info in a bit? No, thank you. I can't email him? All right, sorry. Confused, honestly. So you wouldn't sell it for 325 or more? I would, but it's not stress-free. It needs repairs. Now, this was incredibly enlightening for me and a reminder that just because we understand the words that we say doesn't mean the person on the other end understands. What I was telling him is that it would be stress-free for him. He interpreted it as he needed to make it so that it was stress-free for the buyer or something like that. I should have said something more like as is or something, but this was very enlightening for me. So I said, gotcha, what kind of repairs? Pool needs a new liner, bedroom needs carpet pulled up, closet needs drywall, minor repairs needed here and there. By the way, I saw the house. This is the undersell of the century. The thing should be torn down, not these repairs, regardless. And you'd prefer to sell it as is. That's the first I've ever received in text. Anyway, so I decided at this point, which, by the way, this is one of my best conversion strategies, and model it in every way possible, is personal video messages. I use Loom. Use whatever you want. Dub, BombBomb, doesn't matter. I use Loom because for me, it's the least amount of it's like the easiest thing for me to get it out and about. Like, I've used them all. I've used BombBomb. I've used Dub. I've used Loom. Just for me, it's the easiest, fastest. So I sent him a personal Loom video. Honestly, I don't even remember what it is, but if you open the doc, you can see what I said. And 20 minutes later, he said, what time Tuesday? So it went from no thanks, blah, blah, blah. And I wish I hadn't gotten the appointment, but I did. And I wouldn't have any way of knowing that because the guy had bought it like 2 years ago, and it was really nice when he bought it. And it was a complete disaster when I got there. Anyway, the reason for sharing that is you got to be creative in your answers, find ways to continue conversations, and also understand that I might not have gotten that then, but I'm not, unless he unsubscribes or says never contact me again, I'm going to keep following up with him until I do. Because I wouldn't have known what it looked like without seeing it in person. I just wouldn't have been able to find out that information. So that's an example, but here's the automated process that I follow. So number one, I send them a direct mail campaign. So not just one piece of direct mail. I send 3 pieces over a 20-day window. And what I've been doing, which I need to get a better hold on, is I also send, especially these motivated seller cash offer request leads, after the initial campaign, 1 piece of direct mail a month. So it might be a postcard, it might be a letter, it might be a note card. But these examples here are pretty simple and straightforward and direct. Would you consider selling your home at 20 Mohawk Road to an out-of-state private client of ours? Who's the out-of-state private client? It could be QuickBuy or it could be Zoom Casa. Doesn't matter to me. I don't care. But that's who I'm referring to when I'm saying this. It's not bait and switch. It's not anything because I know, like I already have a preliminary offer for it from them. That's a letter that we send. Here's a postcard, which, by the way, regardless of lead type, this postcard absolutely crushes. It's their property, the full front of the postcard with this text, and we have two variations of the copy on it, but it absolutely crushes because it's their property. Like, it's a pattern interrupt. And the other reason it crushes is nobody's direct mail anymore. I've literally, since Saturday, I've had 4 or 5 pieces of mail in my mailbox. Total. 3 of them stupid credit card offers and 1 or 2 medical bills, like for our kids' like appointment or whatever. That's it. Nobody's using direct mail. So like, why not be somewhere that everybody else isn't? This is working really well to lots of different audiences, even cold. I think this is a great one for pre-foreclosures. It's a note card. It looks like a wedding invitation, okay? It gets opened, okay? It doesn't look like the rest of the direct mail they're getting. It doesn't look like the bill collectors or anything like that. They offer very simple and straightforward. Would you consider selling your house at street address to a private client of mine? If yes, please call or text this number. You can also scan the QR code below for an instant market analysis report I prepared for your property. I think we actually changed the PS to be around, I think now we're saying to instantly review multiple cash offer options, I think is what we're saying, something like that. And I can dig that up depending on how much time we have. That's the direct mail campaign. But that obviously takes time for that to get out. In the meantime, if I've gotten an appointment and stuff like that, I'm going to take them off of that, obviously. I'm not going to send them direct mail if I've already had an appointment, unless I forget, which does happen. Here is the SMART campaign. I literally just screenshot from KV Core. So over 10 days, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 touches. And quite honestly, I do more than that because I will call them through my smart number, through KV Core. I will call them directly on my cell phone, and I will call them through another phone setup that I have through a Go High Level account. Because if I get them on the phone, I'm getting an appointment just about every time, right? So like in that first 24 hours, I'm going to be all over them. And then I'm going to use or rely more on automation over time and use their behavior to dictate if I call them again. Meaning, if they scan a QR code on direct mail that I sent, I'm going to try and call them again, right? Because they've taken another action that indicates maybe it's the right time. Or even if I see that they've opened an email. Certainly if they replied to a text, right? So I'm very aggressive with them up front, and then I rely on technology and direct mail on the back. And then what I'm finding is the more seasoned they become, when I send out a little text, one of my text scripts, I get appointments or replies at minimum just about every time. For those of you using Bold Trail and you want to do this, or you just want to add, this is the smart code. For those listening only, you'll have to hit up Robert for the document so you can get the QR code for those audio only listeners. And this is a breakdown of the different things. The way I do it is I want to check for a refund right away because you'll get leads that are listed. You'll get leads that are mobile homes. And if it qualifies for a refund, I am requesting it. And still, I'm not going to delete them from Bold Trail unless I really need to. Meaning, I'll sell a mobile home in my market. I don't care. But it's part of their refund policy. They'll refund me if it's a mobile home. I'm good. I'll get the refund. I still got the contact info. So be it. So I've got all the emails and the text, etc., in here. And then what do I do? So here's what I do basically every month. After month 1, let's say, or after those first 10 days. And this is what I do. This isn't just with cash offer leads. This is basically anybody that I've got an address for and have had some indication at some point that if they were looking at their home value or they requested a home valuation or they requested cash offers, whatever. I do 2 things. I'm human, right? So most months I do these 2 things. I will send them an updated home value sequence. So I send them an email for them to check out their value. I send them a bump text to tell them to go check out their value that I just emailed them. And then I will follow up with the ones that checked out their value to see what has you curious about your value. And then about 2 weeks off of that, right? Because I try to break it up. I don't want to be too aggressive, right? I don't want to let people fall through the cracks, but I also don't want to push people away. About 2 weeks apart from that, I'll do more of a direct offer similar to this one. I just call it open to offers. So this is a text script. This script works great with expireds, especially older expireds. But hey, James, curious if there's any chance you'd be open to entertaining offers on your property at street address. Here's my very fancy variation for expireds. I put the word still in because at some point they were open to entertaining offers, right? Otherwise, they wouldn't have had it on the market. Hey, Tim, curious or just curious if there's any chance you'd still be open to entertaining offers on your property at street address. What questions, comments, thoughts, ideas? What did I leave out? What did I talk too fast over top of?
You know what? You crushed it, dude. I tell you what, I've got a lot of really amazing notes here. Cash offers. I think that's really one thing I want to make sure that the listeners don't lose sight of. The cash offers, that gets the phone conversation started. When you get a seller that thinks they want a cash offer, oftentimes they don't realize it until they see the cash offer that they don't want a cash offer. But that gets the conversation started. That's why it's so important. You mentioned to use iList. I can tell you this. Carla put it in the chat box, the iList link. Check it out. Check out the 14-day free trial. It is killer. They have landing pages. They have everything you need, scripts. But check it out because I did a 72 listing study. I introduced a cash offer to 72 sellers, and not one of them went with the cash offer, but most of them wanted the highest and best price. So we ended up listing their home anyway. So at the end of the day, that's what our goal is, to list homes. So at the end of the day,
if nothing else, it's a wonderful thing to anchor what you really want anyway. Again,
absolutely.
And if it is in their best interest, absolutely, you should lead them to that. But for most people, 95% at least, if not 97%, you selling it on the open market and helping them net the most possible is going to be what is in their best interest. And it's a wonderful juxtaposition. Like, you're using that as an anchor point. And very simply, the way I present, either after I've met with them or if there's resistance and they want to see, is this real? And I do this with FSBOs and expireds too, it's 3 options. I'll give them a dual close cash offer option and what it would look like if we list it on the open market. And I just call it a 7-day stress-free home sale. And then they're choosing what works best for them, not choosing yes or no. I think you got to be careful how many options you give them, because if you give them too many choices, it can create confusion, and a confused mind says no. But I've found for me, in most cases, 3 or at most 4, depending on their scenario, like what their situation is. That's what's worked best to get people to the end result. And I don't know that I've specifically tracked 74 exactly, but what I can say with certainty is the cash offer options available that's integrated into iList has absolutely gotten me like a ton more conversations. None of the clients that I've helped in the last year and a half, 2 years actually went that route. Now, some of them, we were close. We had the docs. We even did Zooms, etc. But like most of the time, it ends up like, hey, we can get you the money probably just as fast with about the same amount of hassle and a lot more of it.
Amen, brother. Amen. I appreciate that. That was powerful. And yes, we'll go ahead and for those folks that are listening to the podcast via Spotify, we'll go ahead and get those links in there. We'll share those with you. Josh, that was power. So go into the chat box, guys. Check out the iList cash offers platform. It's awesome. Josh, let's do this. Let's open it up for Q&A. Go ahead and unmute yourself, guys. Let's go ahead and ask Josh anything about what we just went over today. Not all at once, though. Just real quick.
I got a quick question.
Go ahead, James. Go ahead.
Question.
Yeah.
Hey, would you be willing to share some of the finances by what you're doing, like your monthly investment and your ROI at this point? Do you have any of those metrics or anything like that? Yeah, I do.
Here's what I can tell you. I've paid for somewhere around 115 since April of these leads. It's somewhere between 115 and 125. And in my market, the average cost, including the Z buyer ones, which honestly half of those are, and in my market, the cost per lead on those is, depending on the bidding, 30 to 40. But let me just reverse engineer this here. So 120, and my average cost over all of them is probably 125. So what is that? Let's do 120 by 120 just for simple. Or I guess 120. If we did 125 times 100, that's probably easier math. And that's what, 12,500?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. So I've definitely gotten my money back and then some. So I've closed on one where I got paid 6 GCI. Average home price in my market is a lot lower than many of you. I'll just say that. So I got paid on one that was 6. I got paid and closed. Now that's gross commission, GCI. Another one was 12.5-ish. And I'm looking at my sold board over here. I'm missing one though. And then one other one. So right now I'm probably 2 to 1.
Cool.
So it's not
Appreciate
like,
that.
but I can see the path to 3, 4, 5, 10. The one I met with yesterday, which came in at the end of June. So she was a month old. It took her a month to let me in her house. We're selling her house. It's going to be 10,000 GCI. It'll sell in a weekend, guaranteed. That's one. The one tomorrow, I will probably make between 10 and 15. The one tomorrow morning. There's one in the afternoon that I'll probably make between 12 and 15 also. He's 400,000. And then I have another one in the afternoon that's around 300,000. So I'm going to do a better job of tracking it, and I'm happy to share any of that. But here's the thing that I think you'll experience very quickly is these people want to talk to you. They want help. And I'll happily pay more for that, especially because we're in a market where I don't want to work with the maybes. I want to work with the have-tos, not the want-tos. I had a conversation with a past client. I helped them buy a new construction home in 2021, and they're trying to decide if they're going to sell and move out of the country for a couple of years and then move back. And I'm like trying to talk her out of it because the number that she wants that would make it worth it, I'll do it. And I'll do everything possible for it, but it's a long shot at best for her to get the number that she has in her mind that would make it worth it for her to actually sell and go on this little out-of-country whatever for a couple of years.
You know what, I tell you, this is some great stuff. Any last questions before we let Josh get back to prospecting? All right, Josh, any closing remarks that we'd like to say to the...
If anybody, I'm pretty easy to find just about everywhere. And I would encourage you, if you want to have a discussion about any of what I shared here, just shoot me a text or a DM or schedule a time on my calendar. I'm an open book on all of this. I do my best anyway to come from a place of abundance. I think there's more than enough to go around, especially for those that are good and dedicated at what they do, which is obviously if you are here on a Wednesday afternoon, you're in that bucket. So I'd be more than happy to chat and help any way I can.
You know what? This has been just an awesome session, man. I'm so glad to have you on. I'd love to get you back a little Josh 2.0, get us caught up on your ROI and your success. And thank you so much.